Before we even dive into this, I need you to completely stop what you're doing, clear your head, and sit with what I'm about to say for a second. What you're about to hear might feel uncomfortable, it might poke at your ego, and it might make you question how you've been navigating your relationships, but you genuinely need to hear it. Right now, in this exact moment, there is a woman who knows your exact age, knows every detail of your past, and knows the absolute worst, most flawed parts of who you are. She sees the baggage you try to hide from the rest of the world. She knows the mistakes you've made, and she fully understands your imperfections. Yet, despite all of that logic telling her otherwise, she still chooses you. She doesn't choose you casually as an option, and she doesn't choose you temporarily just to pass the time. She chooses you deeply with full emotional investment, anchoring her feelings to who you are right now. But here is where everything changes, and here is why you cannot afford to look away from this screen. Something invisible, quiet, and deeply psychological is about to shift tonight. While you might think today is just another normal evening, her mind is actively processing signals you don't even realize you are sending. The ground beneath your relationship is moving. And if you are blind to the subtle mechanics of female emotion, you are going to miss the exact moment the dynamic transforms right in front of your eyes. Most men go through their entire lives completely oblivious to how female psychology actually operates. They rely on cheap tricks, surface level dating advice, and cliche pickup lines, thinking that basic consistency or simple surface value is enough to keep a woman's heart locked in. They don't understand the hidden triggers that build real attraction, the silent tests a woman runs when she's falling for you, or the raw psychological reasons behind why a woman decides to stay for the long haul versus when she quietly begins to detach. If you want to step out of that majority, if you want to master the deep psychological truths that 99% of men will never figure out, then hit the subscribe button right now and give this video a like. By subscribing, you are choosing to stop guessing and start understanding. What we are covering here isn't watered down, comfortable nonsense meant to soothe your feelings. This is the raw, uncut truth about female desire and emotional attachment that most men actively avoid because it forces them to wake up. Listen carefully, pay attention to every word, and let's break down what is actually happening. Society has brainwashed you into believing a massive lie about your own worth. From the time you're young, you are conditioned to measure your value as a man against a calendar, as if your desirability is nothing more than an expiration date stamped on your forehead. You're pushed to believe that if you're young, you're too inexperienced, too broke, or too immature to be taken seriously by a high-value woman. And if you're older, you're taught to fear that you're past your prime, running out of time, and losing the traits that make a man genuinely wanted. It creates a constant background anxiety that makes you question where you stand. But here is the raw truth you need to internalize right now. That entire premise is dead wrong. Emotional attachment does not operate on a clock, and it certainly does not care about the number on your driver's license. Female psychology doesn't calculate your attraction based on how many birthdays you've celebrated. It calculates attraction based entirely on emotional impact. A woman does not fall in love with a number, a birth year, or an age gap. She falls in love with the specific, powerful emotional environment you create around her. She falls for the version of herself that comes alive when she is standing right next to you, how grounded, seen, secure, or electrified she feels in your presence. That is the currency that actually matters. Think about what it truly means when a woman loves you after learning about your past mistakes, your failures, and your deepest flaws. Society tells you to hide those things, but when she knows your history and stays, something profound has happened behind the scenes. She didn't just stumble into those feelings by accident. Her mind already ran through the cold, hard logic. She mapped out your baggage, evaluated your imperfections, and found every logical reason on paper to pack up and walk away. Yet, after weighing all of that reality, her emotional brain overruled the logic and chose you anyway. That is not a coincidence, and it isn't passive luck. That is deep, high-stakes psychological investment where she has actively tied her internal world to yours despite knowing exactly who you are. However, that exact level of deep acceptance brings us directly into a hidden, high-risk danger zone that most men never see coming. The moment a woman fully accepts you, drops her defenses, and chooses to love you despite your flaws, she instantly becomes hyper-vulnerable. Why? Because by giving you that kind of emotional access, she hands you the power to break her, and her internal survival system knows it. Fully committing to a man means opening herself up to the devastating possibility of losing him, being blindsided, or realizing she misjudged his value. And tonight, that exact emotional vulnerability is going to be triggered inside her mind. Do not expect this trigger to look like a dramatic movie scene with screaming, tears, or a massive blowout argument. It is almost never that obvious. The triggers that alter a woman's perception happen quietly, in the micro moments you usually completely overlook. It could be something as simple as a delayed text response when she was reaching out for closeness. It could be a subtle, cold shift in your tone during a routine conversation, a sarcastic joke that lands completely wrong, or your complete silence in a moment where her heart was expecting a warm reaction. To you, it's nothing, a fleeting, forgettable moment in a busy day. But to her hyper-aware, emotional radar, it isn't just an accident. It is a direct signal carrying deeper meaning. When a woman is deeply invested in you, her mind is constantly performing a delicate balancing act between two powerful opposing emotional forces, connection and uncertainty. Most men naively believe that basic flatline consistency is the only thing required to keep a woman locked in forever. They think that as long as they show up, pay for dinner, and stay predictable, her feelings will remain frozen in time. But that is a fundamental misunderstanding of desire. While safety maintains a relationship, emotional unpredictability and subtle contrast are what force her true feelings to the surface. It challenges her comfort and forces her brain to pay extreme attention to you. Tonight, those two forces are colliding head on inside her head. A subtle shift in your energy is going to force her subconscious mind to make a decision. That single micro interaction will act as a fork in the road. Either her feelings are going to lock in significantly deeper as she seeks reassurance and warmth, or she is going to take her first quiet step backward to protect her own heart. The most dangerous part about this entire dynamic is that she won't announce it to you out loud. She won't issue a warning or start a fight. She will absorb the moment, process it internally, and begin to shift, and you won't even notice the foundation cracking unless you know exactly what signals to look for. Most men live under the comforting delusion that emotional attachment is built strictly in moments of peace, predictability, and total ease. They believe that if everything remains calm, smooth, and entirely comfortable, a woman's attachment to them will naturally grow stronger over time. But female psychology does not work that way. Attachment doesn't just grow in comfort, it often expands and intensifies in moments of subtle confusion. Logic is never the primary driver of romantic attraction. Emotional imprint is. You can present a woman with every logical reason on paper why you are a great choice. But if you do not leave a powerful, resonant emotional imprint on her mind, her attraction will stagnate. Logic tells her who you are on paper, but emotional impact is what makes her think about you when she lies awake at night. This brings us to one of the biggest traps men fall into, treating love like a fixed, permanent destination. Men tend to view relationships like a doorway they finally managed to walk through. They think once they win a woman's heart, they've arrived at the finish line, so they can sit back, kick their feet up, and coast on autopilot. But love is not a static prize you win once and store on a shelf. It is an active, breathing, living system that is constantly reading your real-time signals, processing your energy, and evaluating how you show up. When men feel the relationship slipping, their instinct is to scramble and rely on grand, sweeping gestures, buying expensive gifts, planning elaborate dates, or dropping intense declarations of affection. They think big actions prove devotion, but those big gestures don't solve the core issue. Emotional safety is what maintains the baseline of love, but desire operates on completely different rules. Desire is ignited by contrast, nourished by space, and sustained by a sense of mystery, the subtle, thrilling feeling that you cannot be completely decoded or taken for granted. Tonight, those two powerful competing mechanisms, love and desire, are pulling her in opposite directions. On one side, the love and history she feels for you pulls her close, driving her to seek warmth and familiarity. But on the other side, a spark of uncertainty makes her pause. When those two internal forces collide head-on inside her mind, a fundamental shift occurs in how she relates to you. She stops simply living in the moment and experiencing your presence naturally. Instead, her brain flips a switch and enters an active state of evaluation. She stops just interacting with you. She starts analyzing you. To understand why this analysis is so powerful, you have to realize what she did when she first fell for you. She constructed a detailed internal story about who you are. She mapped out your character, your habits, your emotional rhythm, and your consistency. She built this narrative not just to understand you, but to make herself feel safe and secure in giving you her heart. But tonight, a subtle disruption, a slight shift in your energy, or an unexpected reaction creates a stark contrast that clashes with that internal story. Reality suddenly fails to match the script she has been running in her head. And that mismatch creates immediate psychological tension. The moment your emotional energy shifts, her brain automatically goes to work updating its internal perception of you. But do not expect her to call a press conference or confront you directly about what she is feeling. She isn't going to break down, raise her voice, or demand an immediate explanation. In fact, on the outside, she might act completely warm, pleasant, and entirely normal. She will smile, respond to your questions, and carry on as if nothing is out of the ordinary. But underneath that calm surface, her mind is running an intense background diagnostic on you. She is replaying your recent words over and over in her head, dissecting the exact inflection of your voice, analyzing your body language, and running silent, high-stakes questions through her thoughts. Did I misread who he really is? Is his energy changing toward me? Can I actually rely on his stability, or was I foolish to trust it? You need to understand that she isn't doing this out of malice, toxicity, or a desire to look for flaws in your character. This is a fundamental human survival mechanism. Her nervous system has detected a slight shift in predictability, and it is scrambling to regain control and restore emotional certainty. When contrast and uncertainty enter her mind, the buffer of passive trust disappears. Every routine interaction, every casual text, every pause, and every look is no longer treated as just a simple throwaway action. In her eyes, it has transformed into a critical message, a piece of evidence that will either reassure her heart or confirm her rising doubts. This is the exact stage where men lose complete control of the narrative without ever realizing a single thing has changed. You go about your day doing what you've always done, acting the exact same, talking the exact same, and showing up in the exact same ways you always have. You think everything is completely fine because in your mind, nothing has changed. But on her end, the receiver has completely shifted. You might be broadcasting the exact same message, but she is no longer receiving it through the lens of easy, relaxed trust. The lens has shifted. And because you can't see that invisible transition, you walk blindly into a complete breakdown of emotional alignment. What is actually happening inside her head is a profound psychological split into two active, simultaneously running layers. The first layer is the emotional pull. This is the foundation you've built over time. The genuine trust, the shared history, the inside jokes, the warmth, and the raw physical attraction that drew her to you in the first place. That part of her brain doesn't just vanish overnight. It still wants to move toward you, feel close to you, and hold on to the safety of the connection. But right alongside it, a second, far more vigilant mechanism has just slammed online: the observer. The observer is an instinctive, defensive layer of female psychology that activates the very second your energy, tone, or presence feels even slightly unfamiliar. It acts like a high-powered radar sweeping for inconsistencies. The moment this layer wakes up, her mind enters a state of psychological dual processing. One side of her is still feeling the warmth of the connection, while the other side is standing at a distance, quietly taking notes and measuring your every move. She isn't doing this to play games, and she isn't losing interest in you, at least, not yet. What she is actually doing is entering an intense, hyper-focused analysis mode. Men constantly misinterpret this phase. When a woman starts acting slightly quieter, more observant, or subtly reserved, most men make the fatal mistake of assuming she is just playing hard to get or being moody for no reason. But the truth is much deeper than that. She has been forced to re-understand you emotionally. The moment a woman feels the need to step back and reevaluate who you are, the baseline of emotional safety completely evaporates and a period of quiet recalibration takes over. She is actively trying to determine whether her original perception of you was accurate or if she needs to rewrite the story she holds about you in her head. During this recalibration phase, the stakes are dramatically higher than you think. Because her observer layer is fully engaged, normal behaviors suddenly carry massive psychological weight. A simple 2-hour delay in your text message is no longer just you being busy. It becomes potential evidence of emotional distance. A quiet pause in a phone conversation is no longer just comfortable silence. It gets interpreted as a withdrawal of warmth. A short, brief response to her question isn't viewed as efficiency. It gets read as coldness. Every single word, every tone shift, every text, and every moment of silence now carries double its usual emotional weight. And if you don't realize she is in this state, one careless move can permanently shift her from quiet analysis straight into emotional detachment.